Good evening. I think it's a very interesting subject. As a startup which you are confronted with, do I actually spend time in setting a foundation to grow later, or do I actually focus on growth? Now, if as a startup I'm asked this question, saying which one do you want to choose, I would say it's a Hobson's choice. This cannot be a question that can be asked to a startup because you have to grow from day one. And obviously, unless you are in this game to sell out in a couple of years, you have to think of making that growth sustainable. I think that's what Mohan also said. It has to be sustainable. And the only way you can make it happen is by actually setting up a strong foundation. So what I want to do is share with you our own journey and learnings and experiences of trying to build a high growth company while setting up a foundation to make it sustainable and over a period of time. There are 4 key factors that I would want to touch upon. The first one is which typically we don't focus on when we start talking of business and growth, because we are so enamored by growth rates, profits, revenues, margins, is about culture. So the first and foremost thing that we need to focus on in building a stable foundation is the organization culture. Now there are many facets and elements which can actually go into building a culture in an organization. What I'm going to today do is touch upon 3 very important things that we have learned for a long time, but I seldom see organizations focusing on that as part of their growth process. 3 very simple terms that we have all heard of: mission, vision, and values. I'm sure every company here has spent time in articulating this. Yet, in our journey to pursue growth, very rarely, if at all, we actually go back and introspect on what these are and actually how they can help us, create a sustainable foundation for growth. Let's first understand what this is, and I'll talk to you about how it actually helps us in Happiest Minds. Mission is very simple, the purpose of your existence. Vision is our long-term goals that we all want to achieve together. And values are something which drives or influence our behavior on a day-to-day basis. So that's something which is, I'm sure, understood by each one of us. Now let me tell you how it actually works and helps. So in the Happiest Minds context, our mission is very simple. Happiest people, happiest customers. So as long as we take care of these 2 stakeholders, I think we are in good business. Let's talk about these simpler thing, values. In Happiest Minds, our values are smiles, sharing, mindful, integrity, learning, excellence, and social responsibility. And we believe these are important because when you are growing, you are in a services business like ours, bringing in fresh people all the time. And as Mohan said, it may give you the feeling of being in an airport. Now, if you are in an airport where you are at all points in time taking care of passengers coming in and going out, how do you ensure that there is consistency as far as the organization's interface with its customers and stakeholders are concerned? And the only way to make that happen is by focusing on values, because you cannot put people through classrooms and tell them on a day in and day out basis on what's expected of them. So that's where values play a role. The third one is vision. Now, we all understand, we all articulate long-term vision. But the fact of the matter is the details of that get lost on people on a day-to-day basis. And we have seen the same thing in Happiest Minds. Elements of vision were very clear. So for example, when Ashok, our executive chairman, started the company, He put forward a challenge, and which ultimately translated into a vision of being the fastest growing IT services company from India. And he said, the way he sees it, we want to be $100 million company in 5 years. So he very clearly articulated a goal for each one of us. Yet, beyond that, other elements of vision is not something that people understand on a day in and day out basis. And it is important that when you are building the culture, you actually make people aware of what's important. What are our goals and what are we trying to achieve? So in Happiest Minds, given the fact that we realize that many of the people beyond this revenue goal are not able to articulate what are the other goals that we aim for, we actually introduced an acronym called Foresight, which helps us remember what we want to be. Now, this is an acronym. S stands for being socially responsible. So we want to be socially responsible as part of doing day-to-day business. And it can come in multiple shapes and forms. I'm not going to touch those as part of the talk today. I is about setting up a strong foundation for IPO in year 6 or 7. And again, it has elements, it describes as to when will we be ready and when we would have set a strong foundation. G stands for governance, so be known for corporate governance. H stands for being happiness evangelists, because that is who we are. Happiness evangelists for ourselves, our team members, our customers, and if possible for society at large. And T stands for thought leadership. So we have to make progress on all of these to be able to become a holistic company and to say that we have grown. Just achieving one parameter and failing on the others is not a sustainable company that we are building. If you look at our mission, vision, and values, what ties it together? The only theme that you will see consistently across our mission, vision, values is the theme of happiness. And that is what is the name about the company. That is what is represented in our visual identity. And that is who we believe will make us unique. So there has to be something which actually integrates. We cannot be in this world just with a blind purpose of making money. So there has to be a theme. That theme has to be understood. And once that happens, the foundation actually begins to get established. The other thing that we can do as startups, which many larger organizations would not be able to do, is involve people in articulating these things. So in Happiest Minds, when we started exactly 4 years back, we had our mission established, we had the values established, but vision was still open. And we actually had the first 100, 150 people become part of the exercise of articulating who we wanted to be. What should we consider as a good goalpost to achieve in 5 years? So it becomes a shared vision, and when it becomes a shared vision, it actually helps you accelerate your growth because people know what's expected of them. The other important thing is to make it stick. And for that, you need to internalize that. One good way of doing it is to begin to marry it with literally every conceivable people process that we can think of. So if you have in your organization certain values, and those values are not getting used while you are hiring people, they are not getting used when you are actually evaluating people's performance, they are not getting used when you are recognizing people's performance, then I don't think they will get internalized and they will not go into building the kind of culture that you want in your organization. We probably are only company in the world where people's variable pay is actually dependent on they acting as happiness evangelists. So it's a very simple thing. Make people around you happy and earn your variable pay. Now, I'm certainly not expecting people to go and replicate that in their organization because it is very contextual to what Happiest Minds is. what our focus around themes are, and how we believe it can actually become a sustainable process. But that's something I would encourage each and every organization to do to build a strong foundation for growth. The second lever that I want to talk about is this whole process of organization building. While we are building organization from scratch, I think the most important thing we need to do is to envisage what the end state is going to look like. So if I have a 5-year journey, and if I cannot imagine what I would look like after 5 years, I think I would not be in a position to go on my journey in a systematic way without making too many mistakes. The biggest issue that we see is a lot of people have extremely great ambitions, but their articulation of what that end state is extremely poor. And the reason I'm saying so, and I'll give you the example. So when we started on the journey of trying to be $100 million revenue company in 5 years of our existence, we also very clearly knew the amount of effort it would take, what amount of money we have to take to put investments in place so that we can actually grow at this pace. Because, mind you, unlike in many of your businesses, we are today in an industry which is no longer considered a glamorous industry. Everybody wants to be in IT platforms. Everybody wants to be in IT products. IT services, you don't see many companies coming there. So it's no longer fashionable. Yet, if we want to be the fastest company in terms of growth, then we need to be clear as to how that growth is going to happen and what does it take for us to actually make that growth happen. That's really where we were lucky. Apart from taking a Series A funding of around $52 million, which has never been done by a services company in India before. And we knew that we needed this money to make the kind of investments that will give us the growth. So apart from that, the other benefit we had was a large founding team. When you start with a large founding team, it actually gives you a lot of ability to do things in parallel, as long as they are cohesive, which in our case they were. So it straight away solves the problem where it would take few people to do it over a few years. A large team can actually help compress that time. So we were lucky in that sense of having that founding team help us set the foundation quickly and move ahead. What we also clearly did was create several engines of growth. In a services business, it is important that you actually insulate yourself from the vagaries and the ups and downs of the economic environment in various geographies where you operate. It's a fact that things will not go as planned. And when that happens, do you have fallback options? Have you created alternatives for you so that your growth does not actually come down dramatically just because something untoward has happened? So we were lucky in terms of the way we organized ourselves. There were 3 businesses that were created. Each business was focused around its core competency. It went to the market looking for its own customers around the value proposition that it felt customer would be interested in. Yet, as an organization, there were many things which brought us together. The technologies that we focus on, the expertise that we leverage was all the same. Yet, we created 3 engines of growth because we wanted to go and tap into 3 different sets of market which were available for us. And that has really helped us achieve a higher growth than what was probably possible if we would not have done this exercise. The third thing that I would want to talk about is team. And again, I'll touch upon 3 very simple points. Obviously, we all believe team is important, but in a services business that we are in, we very consciously took a goal of being an admired workplace. We said we want to be, at all points in time, a great place to work. We want to be among the top 5 great places to work amongst emerging companies in India. So let's create a foundation, let's create our processes, practices, and benchmark according to that. And the good news is that today we are there among emerging companies. If you look at surveys like Great Places to Work, we today get recognized as an employer of choice, and that is important to attract and retain talent. No startup would be perfect place, because if people want to join perfect places, then startup is not that organization. So just because we are imperfect does not mean that we have no intention of actually improving. So one of the things that we need to do is constantly keep our ears on the ground, listen to people on what's working and what's irritating them. As far as possible, create those enabling conditions which make them feel comfortable and therefore help them focus on making the growth happen, which is what all of us are looking for. And the third thing on the people side is give people an opportunity for wealth creation. So in Happiest Minds, we said each and every person would be a shareholder of the company. And we will give people an opportunity to create wealth, to be part of our success. And we have one of the most generous stock option schemes that we can think of in the industry. The final thing that I want to talk to you about is making the growth happen itself. The first and foremost thing is fix stretch targets. When we fixed a target of 100 million in 5 years, we all felt we will fail miserably in terms of achieving it. Yet, after 3 full years, we are upward of 50 million. At this point in time, if you come and poll people within Happiest Minds, they have much higher degree of confidence of being able to come close to that goal or meet that goal. So that's the transformation which has happened in 3 years' time. But believe me, if we would have taken a target of 50 million, it's not that we would have crossed 50 million in 3 years. We would have been somewhere between 20 to 30 million. So when we stretch ourselves in terms of defining goals, magic begins to happen. And therefore, if you want to achieve that rapid growth, push yourself to making it happen, because only then you have a chance of making it happen. A lot of people say, I will set reasonable goals and over-exceed it. We have seen that it doesn't happen. I already touched upon having multiple levers or engines of growth. Please look at it. Even if you are a product company, please look at it from a perspective of markets that you are serving, industries that you are serving. Can you de-risk yourself? Can you actually maximize your opportunity by focusing on more than one focus segment, so that you give yourself that opportunity. The other thing is, you cannot as a startup do it by yourself. We need an ecosystem of partners, be it partners who can bring in talent, be it partners who can help us in marketing, be it partners who can help us bring business, be it partners who can help bring complementary skills that I don't have, be it partners who can bring platform and products to me. We need this, and without that, there is no way we will be able to achieve growth on our, despite all the investments we have made. I don't think we will stand a chance if we don't have a great partner ecosystem helping us become successful. So I think that's something which is all of us will need to focus on as we pursue growth. The final thing is, and I think again Mohan touched upon it, is I think we need to recalibrate ourselves every few years. There is just no way one recipe and one formula is going to help us grow rapidly year after year. For example, when we started, the biggest concern for us was, in this mature market, how will we get customers? How will we sign up customers? And therefore, all strategy for us was around acquiring new customers. Today, we are in a situation where we have actually done much better than what our business plan had envisaged. Today, we have 100 plus customers. Now we have to think different. Having acquired these customers, how can I grow business with them? For that, multiple things will have to change. And therefore, I will have to let go of what worked for me for past 4 years and will have to adopt completely different strategies to be able to deliver what growth now means to me and where we think it's going to come from, which is to grow the accounts that we already have while continuing to add to the account base. So in a way, the growing a company is no different from actually on a mission to put a satellite in its orbit. You at different point in time need different motors to actually work. So if you look at a rocket, it has multiple stages, and each stage has a certain function to perform, and it has to actually stop working at some point in time and hand it over to the next stage to take it to the next orbital level. The biggest issue that we have is sometimes when we begin to see success, we become slaves of that success and that recipe, and that actually begins to stall the growth and sometimes also make it go in the reverse direction. So, one of the things that we need to do is keep on unlearning what's making us successful and continuing to have faith in trying out new things and make that as a driver for growth. So far, so good for us, but there is a long journey ahead. And hopefully some of these learnings will continue to inspire us, and we'll continue to move towards our goals. Thank you.